There we go.
There we go.
All right. Well, if you're using AngularJS, these guys need no introduction, but I'm going to ask them to give one anyway. And then if you have some questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. Or maybe I should just put it in Q&A mode, and they can raise their hands and talk, but we'll get an echo when they talk. So,
introductions.
Yeah, so just say who you are.
Go ahead.
Yes.
You first.
So, hi, my name is Misko Hevery. I don't know what title I have, so I'm going to go with the father of Angular, just because that's the default title I go by.
Hi everybody, I'm Igor. I just cause trouble on Angular.
And my job is to clean up after these guys. I'm their manager. I'm Brad Green. Thanks for having us.
All right. We always welcome the cleanup crew. All right. So, yeah, I know there's an echo, but those guys don't hear it. It's just us when I talk. So I'm going to ask one question, and then I'm going to get off. And that is from Luke Rowell. He said he probably wasn't going to make it. So he says, I write large-scale Angular apps, so I'm interested in lazy loading bundled assets for different portions of functionality. What is the future for Angular with regards to server-side template compilation and ideas like isomorphic JavaScript? And I'll copy and paste that into the chat.
I think that was like 3 questions in one.
I know.
So maybe you want to talk about lazy loading, the future of that?
So for lazy loading, for Angular 2, I'm not sure there's anything going on with 1x.
I can talk about it.
Okay, so Igor's going to talk about it for 1x. For Angular 2, lazy loading is definitely a core principle. And to support it, we have a hierarchical dependency injection system so that we can add new things at runtime and unload them and load more new things, etc. So Angular 2 has a really nice story on that.
Right, and also with the module system that comes from ES6, it's very easy for us to pull more code in a standards way rather than tying Angular to a particular module loader. When it comes to Angular 1, we are experimenting how we could do it with fewer hacks than what is currently out there, because the lazy code loading is possible, but you have to create hacks and kind of work around Angular. So we're looking into how could we introduce this in a safely manner using the new router that we are working on for Angular 1.4. And stay tuned, like we have some ideas. We need to experiment with them. But it's something that we're definitely thinking about and trying to do.
I think the other part of the question was isomorphic rendering, server-side rendering.
Yeah.
Maybe talk about some of our experience with the experimentation we did.
So we did a lot of experimentation with this, and well, there's 2 reasons to do server-side rendering. One is for crawlers, like the Googles and the search engine
search results, yes,
SEO, and the other one is for performance, to be faster. And so it turns out that when we did a whole bunch of experiments, the performance side of it, at least, was not significant enough to get us all excited and say we absolutely have to do it. And the search engines are kind of slowly learning to search JavaScript applications. So that's kind of where we are. But we are still kind of exploring, because a lot of people are still asking about server-side pre-rendering. And so we're kind of exploring this again and again. And many things that are placed in Angular 2 are done in a way which kind of keeps us open, and the possibilities kind of open in there, where we could do these kinds of things on a server.
Yep, things that weren't possible in Angular 1, yeah, we can visit it here in Angular 2.
Was it 2 years ago or 3 years ago when we built a version of Angular that we never released, and that version of Angular supported server-side rendering. We built it for internal needs inside of Google, and one thing that we learned is that when you try to do things in this way, where you have both server-side and client-side, first of all, there's not that much code that you can actually share between the two. So if somebody claims that, oh, high code reuse is the main goal, then I think they'll be surprised that, yes, there is some code, but it's not like I can reuse my whole application on both sides. The other one that we learned is that at least the implementation that we created added a lot of complexity to the setup. And it's a complexity that is unnecessary for most of the applications out there. I'm not saying that for all of them. I would say maybe for 90% of applications out there, that complexity is completely unnecessary. Having said that, there are use cases when server-side rendering can yield in performance benefits. And because Angular 2 is based architecturally based on some of the ideas that we developed in this unreleased version of Angular, it is possible to make it make the server-side story possible. It's just not the top priority for us this month. Maybe that will change next month. We'll see.
Yeah, there you go. Unsatisfying answer. Let's go to the next one.
All right, I'm going to switch to Q&A mode so that people can ask their own questions. And I'm just going to read the first one here so you can talk about it while we get switched over. And that is, what do you recommend for the model layer in Angular 1.3 looking toward 2.0? Pure JS, a service, or factories?
It's an interesting question.
Pure JS versus factories versus services? Yeah. Can we get a clarification on this question?
Was this one written in?
It was written in.
Yeah, no clarification. You can say whatever you want now.
So one recommendation I can give you is try to keep as much of the data access logic outside of controllers. Whether it's in services or factories, that's just syntactical. It's just syntactical difference. The important piece is like really decouple the responsibilities. Keep controllers only for the absolutely necessary glue that you need between the view and the model layer or the data layer, and keep all the data layer outside of controllers.
Let's go to the next question.
I think he said he was going to read the first one, right?
Yeah, oh, we need to read something.
The next question is, what are the main highlights of 1.4?
1.4. Igor, you're probably closest to 1.4.
There are several things we're trying to do. One of them, which many of you might care about and many of you might not care about, is internationalization. It's a request that we've been getting on and off for a long time, and we thought that it was just impossible to do it properly. But then we thought about it and like, well, actually, if we put some effort into it, we could enable many more people using Angular applications, which is something we care about a lot, because it's not like we as an Angular core team don't care necessarily just about the developers, but also about the end users that get to use the Angular applications. So internationalization is one, and it's going to be pretty awesome. We'll show some demos at NGConf. The other one is the new router. We've been working on a backporting router from Angular 2 to Angular 1x. This is scheduled to be released with Angular 1.4.
Animations.
Oh yeah, Matthias is always going crazy with animations. So we are completely refactoring yet again the animations engine in Angular to make it more flexible and more reliable and enable many new features like a timeline and crazy stuff like that.
Higher performance expressions.
We've done more performance tuning, especially in the area of dirt checking. We've done major improvements in 1.3 already, and these further improvements are going to add even more to that. We're making changes to forms, another refactoring of the forms logic.
And so the beta is out now. Oh.
Let's see.
Are we still there?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're still there.
Okay, good. So the beta is out now, and you can go check it out yourself. We have a tweet and a Google Plus post with more of the details, and folks can go try out the beta version.
Yep.
Awesome. I'm going to give Harold the chance to ask his question. Just takes a minute for him to accept audio privileges.
React and the things that React or the Facebook team announced with React.
We just caught half an Harold.
Oh, sorry. With React coming out, and they had a lot of cool, exciting videos on YouTube. Is Angular doing anything in response to that, or do you have any plans related to the things that they were covering or talking about? I know it's new, so
React Native, or
they seem to have one related to UI.
are you referring to React Native or something else?
I think React Native.
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting and bold move. We were thinking about this, but really just in a what if we did crazy stuff? But then after the React conference, we were thinking about it more, because one of the avenues that we're kind of exploring is, could we use web workers in Angular? And if we were able to achieve that goal, then going native is pretty much the same thing. It's just different layout and rendering engine, but the infrastructure necessary to support that is the same. So it's something we are looking into. It's not necessarily a high priority for us for Angular 2 right now, but we feel pretty confident that the architecture we have in Angular 2 will allow us to go in this direction in the future, possibly.
Yeah, so I just want to add to it that we do have a prototype where we are actually running stuff on the web workers, and we're getting very positive numbers and kind of excited. So we are going to explore that particular thing more. And in Angular 2, the way the architecture is actually done, there's this concept of views which are completely independent of DOM, and so we are very fortunate that we could use that particular thing to really for rendering anything. And as Igor points out, like, these things actually were on our mind before React even did these things, but it just kind of solidifies that we're not the crazy people. Like, there's other crazy people out there who also think in this bold ways. So I think more power to them.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's awesome, their commitment to JavaScript and making that the core delivery platform across all of their devices. It's awesome.
Yeah, and for me, this is like one of the ways how web can take some of the lost share from native. For the longest time, it looked like, oh, native is going to take over, but React Native or using web workers and leveraging that for going native or using native rendering engines might be actually the way how web applications can fight back and respond to
win.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think it's how you can not have to write the same application 3 or 4 times. Could be a nice thing.
Right. These are the questions, I suppose.
Aha. Are there any plans to make use of Object Observe in 1.x? No.
No, we tried many times and we failed. It's just the architecture of Angular 1 is not compatible with Object Observe.
But for Angular 2, it's a slightly different story. There we actually specifically designed so we could take advantage of these things. It remains to be seen, the amount of effort. I mean, we kind of know what has to be done. It's just a matter of actually doing it. But we are actually in a position where we could take advantage of it, which is one of the goals of the new React.
I think like one of the open questions is if it actually gives us performance benefits.
That is the kind of the open question. It's very complicated. The bottom line there is that the cost of setting up the listeners in Object Observe is, I wouldn't say expensive, but it can be significant, especially when you want to render a lot of UI. So it's not a clear win one way or the other. It's kind of complicated. So
Story's still out. We'll be exploring it. All right, let's see. Assuming $$ means private, should we avoid using Angular's implementation of $$ request animation frame or other $$ implementations?
yes, $$ means private, which means we can rename it, delete it at will, and we won't feel sorry about it.
I like easy questions. Let's see. Will the animations be more geared towards mobile? Yes.
I think that's what Matthias has been working on. He wants to make sure that the animations on a web platform are as beautiful and easy transitioning wise as they are on mobile, so there shouldn't be any difference in them.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, the work you're seeing now is trying to make web animations much less complex and be able to behave in a timeline. There's some extra work we have to do to make animation while responding to events happen. So as I'm dragging, animations can happen. We're also specifically architecting Angular 2 to make this perform well. And I don't know, Misko, if you want to say more
so
about
the goal of Angular 2 is going to be more mobile friendly. Not that we're not mobile friendly right now, but we're doing this in one of two ways. One is we are significantly decreasing the memory pressure as the application is running. We're doing all kinds of tricks and kind of learnings from 1x world. And two is we're also working making sure that it's faster. And so we have all kinds of benchmarking harnesses in place, which allows us to see what's going on in there. We actually have benchmarking harnesses that are actually running on mobile devices, which report back to us. And again, the important point is to make sure that we are fast in terms of CPU, because every clock cycle is a chunk of battery consumed, and memory pressure, so that the apps can run even on the lower powered machines.
We should also mention that one of the driving factors for the capabilities in the animation engine is material design. It's a specification from Google for UIs, and when it first came out, it was a pretty big head scratcher for us, as well as for Android team and iOS team. How do we do these super complex animations and make them just feel right, and also make them accessible to developers? Because it's no good if it's possible to build super nice UI, but it's super hard to do it. So material design is definitely one of the drivers for these animations. And if you look at videos and even demos, you'll see that those animations are very complex and mobile-oriented.
Yep. So are there plans to fully integrate material, Brad? That's probably your...
Sure. So material design is now at what they call version 0.71. And what's that?
Angular material.
Yeah, Angular material. Sorry. Yes. So we have an implementation of the material design specification. It's fairly complete. The website's quite nice. It comes with a bunch of other developer ergonomic pieces. There are some top of CSS layout that make it easier to build the entire website. At 0.8, which is the next target, they will be very complete in terms of the number of widgets. And that's coming out in a couple weeks. I don't know what the exact date around that is, but so yeah, I think it's ready to start building on now, and we should be heading towards a 1.0 in not too long. Where can we get AngularJS sweatshirts and stickers? Come to NGConf.
If you want a sweatshirt, you have to join the Angular team. So
yeah, the thing Igor's wearing.
Yeah.
But I think you can buy them now.
Okay.
If you go to I don't know, Zazzle. I don't know. The web knows. The web knows where to buy these things.
Stickers. Come to NGConf.
Come to our meetups.
Come to our meetups.
I think Mountain View, New York. It's kind of a crappy answer.
But I mean, all these things are open source, right? And people do sell them as an end product.
That's true. I think one of the things people don't know is our logo is Creative Commons. Like, you can print your own stickers. You can even manipulate the logo and add and print them yourself.
That's been done already.
Add walruses. I don't care. All right. What's the plan for releasing?
A plan for people on migration. That's a meta question. Man.
The plan for the plan. Well, we plan to plan.
We have a plan.
To plan. About this at ngconf, so maybe just stay tuned until the beginning of next month.
Big decisions in Angular 2 since ng Europe.
Lots of them.
Well, I don't know. Mostly.
Yeah, there's been a lot of refinement. I would say it's a lot of refinement. I'm not sure any big decisions. Like no surprises.
I think the web workers is the biggest one.
That's true. That's right.
Trying to work on top of web workers, yes.
The syntax solidified, although that's a very complicated question with lots of emotions.
Oh, observables.
Oh, yeah.
First class support for observables.
Yes, the RX style. Observable.
Yeah,
well, not necessarily RX as the
ES7,
library, but like the concept of observables.
ES7 observables.
Yes.
Do you want to say more about that for people who don't know what those are?
How to explain that in a few words. So Observables is this new interface that is proposed for ECMAScript 7 or ECMAScript 2016, whatever they call it now. And what that interface allows you to do is subscribe to a stream of values. So if you think of promise as a stream of a single value, Observables is a stream of multiple values. And it's a very interesting and powerful concept that allows for composition and all sorts of transformations and that kind of stuff. And we're looking into making it a first-class concept in Angular so that you can choose to use mutable state for your model state, or you can use a stream of values as observables. And you can bypass dirt checking and do all sorts of transformations. It's also an interesting concept to be used in forms, I think. We're still doing a lot of exploration with this, but the way I see observables is like how the path of that we can take to take forms to the next level.
Yeah. I mean, what? Oh, I might have lost my train of thought. Yeah, I got nothing. Anyway, next question.
So support for web components in 2.0, and I think I can answer that, is many reasons why many things are changing in Angular 2.0 is specifically driven because of the support of web components. So, for example, the primary reason why the syntax is changing is so we can support web components out of the box. So no, we're not changing the syntax just because we have nothing.
Well, there's other reasons.
There's many reasons, but this is kind of the primary reason. And so with the new syntax, we can consume web components out of the box with no additional effort on your part. There's some work for us to do to make sure we do it, but it just essentially just works, and that's the big reason. So Angular 2 and web components love each other, and I cannot stress it enough. It's all about making sure that web components are just awesome within Angular.
Yeah.
Can we assume that when
Angular
you're talking about when you're talking about web components, are you talking specifically about Polymer.js?
No, the whole web components, not just Polymer.js.
But yes, also Polymer.
Also Polymer. Polymer is part of the web components, but it's not just that. It's the bricks from Mozilla and...
Yeah, web components is an umbrella specification, and anyone who implements that spec with the component should work well in Angular.
That's right.
Gotcha.
So how do you join the Angular team?
I think that's the way that most people join, which is they submit awesome pull requests in
high volume,
and talk
awesome,
to us, and then talk to us, and they impress us, and we're like, hey, you're pretty good.
It's kind of been the way it's worked. Yes, we've gotten to know our members over time, and once we have a good relationship, then it can be possible. Ideas for Angular 3. So if we move to Semver, this is going to be really easy. And if we don't, then, well, we always have lots of ideas because of you guys. And maybe you should tell us what the ideas for Angular 3 should be. I'll leave that to another post right below this. Okay, let's see. What is one thing we can do other than writing the best 1.3 apps today to prepare for 2.0? I think it's start using ES6. Anyone have another vote?
You can start looking at the To-Do app, which we already have out, and kind of little examples apps that are kind of already in the repo.
Oh, okay. So there is one specific thing you can do, which is join us for the meetup broadcast for the Mountain View Angular meetup next week, where we actually show off the To-Do MVC app in Angular 2.
Okay, and so to follow up on that, I think what you can do is think in terms of like good OO practices, right? So if your app is well structured in terms of the best OO practices, or just best practices, the good ideas that people.
He already said that. He said other than that.
Oh, other than that, he said
she,
I guess,
maybe she. I don't know. There's no gender on these posts.
Yes. So those are the kinds of things. If the app is well structured, you should have easy time going forward.
Okay. All right. What is the current story of AtScript in Angular 2?
It's awesome. I don't know.
Details.
Angular 2 is written on AtScript. It is working out great for us.
I think next Tuesday we'll show it off where we actually have Tracer running to dynamically interpret AtScript, so you can just load it in your browser and run. And we'll talk more about our long-term story at NGConf. So there'll be some fun stuff to talk about.
But I just want to add, just to reiterate, it is in no way required to use AtScript with Angular 2. Angular 2 is specifically designed so that it will work just as well in ECMAScript 5, ECMAScript 6, TypeScript, CoffeeScript, or whatever other favorite language you happen to have that compiles down to JavaScript.
Yep. Just to give you guys a little bit of an overview, we really would like all of the pieces in AtScript to be a standard. And Misko and Igor went to the TC39 Summit meeting last week here in San Francisco, and specifically they were talking about the metadata extensions through annotations. And it'll take a while, but that's our eventual goal. All right, can we get a link for the Mountain View meetup you mentioned? I think if you go to meetup.com/Angular and look for the Mountain View one.
Meetup.com/AngularJS-MTV.
Oh yeah? All right, that's specific. Good. Is the collaboration with the TypeScript team still ongoing? Absolutely. They were here Monday before last. We need to go up and see them, but yes, there are partners in proposing the standards that will make AtScript something hopefully that appears in browsers someday. We love those guys. All right, suggestions for getting started with ES6 and AngularJS. Are there any tutorials out there? And does the documentation give ES6 examples? So the last part I'll answer, and I'll let these guys go for the other bits. But the docs do not currently give ES6 examples. I've seen some good blog posts out there. We should probably round some of it up. Again, at NGConf, we're going to talk more about a migration strategy, and I think that's a reasonable request to us about how do I get started with ES6.
We've seen some projects that showcase how to use AtScript with Angular 1x.
Yep. There's a woman named Hannah who has a nice site. I remember retweeting. Oh. All right. Is there anything from other major?
See.
That was weird.
What happened?
Software, not your friend.
Is there anything from another major JS framework that you'd like to see implemented in Angular?
I don't know. We copied everything already.
We have copied a lot from where we. I don't know. I think it's a question for our viewers. What do you guys want to see? We think about this all the time, but maybe we don't know what you guys need. Will Angular 2 be compatible with Opal? Opal is Ruby transpiled to JS. I don't see why not. But
what does that mean?
I don't know what it is, and
if it's JS, you can call Angular, and away you go. But yes, we don't know anything about Opal, so yeah, your mileage may vary.
it can call JS, then it should be possible. But yeah, we don't know enough about Opal to know for sure.
And the reason not to use ES6 to ES5, I'm assuming that's some kind of a transpiler?
Yeah, yeah.
Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, so we're using Tracer right now. I mean, if ES6 to 5 works for you, you should totally use it. We don't feel like we should be telling you which tool you should be using. We are personally using Tracer because it has a more complete coverage of the APIs that we care about in ES6, and also has some APIs and syntax support for stuff in ES7. So we're using Tracer, but it's 6 to 5 works for you, just go for it. Use it.
All right, John Papa has a great Angular.js style guide. Are there any other style guides you would recommend? So actually, Igor spent a lot of time with John reviewing his style guide. So that's probably the most vetted by our team. Yeah. I know Todd Motto also has a style guide.
So Todd and John, they work together to merge the two into a single one.
Oh, good. I didn't know that happened. Okay. Easy work for you guys. There's just one now. I'm sure there are more. I'm sure there are many style guides. Let's see. Do you prefer AtScript or ES6 for Angular apps? So we actually designed AtScript to make Angular development easier. And Misko, you want to talk about a couple of the reasons why?
Yeah. So to be clear, right, to be precise, AtScript is a superset of ES6. So ES6 gives you some wonderful features. And AtScript adds 2 more features to ES6 and adds type system.
Like TypeScript?
Like TypeScript.
Exactly their syntax.
Exactly the syntax. And metadata, like annotation, the at symbol kind of a thing. You can still write wonderful software without those 2 things. But with those 2 things, we think it is even more powerful.
Less verbose, more expressive.
Yes, more expressive.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I like my own baby.
Do you have a favorite Angular podcast? Boy, I don't know. Did you guys listen to the? No, I'm kidding. Of course we have one. Charles. Next question, please. All right. Any opinion on GreenSock for animations?
I know Matthias is the expert on that.
Yes, I don't think we do. I think we know that it works well with Angular's animation.
It's one of the targeted platforms for animations. We're looking at like just pure CSS versus GreenSock. We're also working with Famous and looking, how to create a unified animation engine that could use all of these animation drivers, as we call them. So GreenSock is one of them. Many people like it. I'm personally not a big fan, but if it works for you, you should be able to use it, and we're definitely making it possible to use it, for you to use it.
Yep. Let's see. Okay, will Google use Angular.js for one of its own sites products, or does it already? So Google does already. There's a lot of ads products that are written with Angular. The cloud platform folks build the majority of their sites in Angular. The search folks build some of their products in Angular. If you go to trends.google.com, that uses Angular. Yeah, more stuff coming. Famous is awesome, very awesome. You said you were working on it with. So so they did all the work, and we, I think, have helped a little bit. But we have to give them credit for putting the integration between Famous and Angular together. And if you go to the Famous website, one of the big links at the top is their integration bits that you can go check out how it works together. Also, Ionic Framework. How involved are you there? Thoughts about their work? So we actually work together with the Ionic folks on the material design library that we're putting together, and they've helped us out a lot on that. And they've built the Ionic Framework on Angular, so we thank them very much. And it seems like folks love them. We personally haven't built anything on them. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts.
We love them.
They're very nice people. we got to hang out with them in at NG Europe. That was pretty cool. All right, are we at the end of questions? Oh, those are good ones.
Oh, here we go.
Misko, tell us a joke.
Really? Really?
No, you don't want. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, okay. Let's see. How much syntax backward compatibility can we expect out of the box, if any, with 2.0?
Right. So as mentioned, the big reason for the change of syntax is to make it compatible with web components
In the templates.
in the templates.
Yeah. What about for things like controllers and directives and services?
So that's for declaring them. So for the templates, I think the migration is going to be relatively straightforward. It's going to be kind of a regex kind of style. You know, you did this before, now you're going to do this over there. And regex, I mean, like, you're literally just going to match certain strings and convert them to some other strings, and that should pretty much work. Mm-hmm. For the actual imperative side of the code, where you write the code, the registration object is going to be split up in the sense that the many things that were in the directed definition object is going to end up in annotations. Slightly different syntax, but it's going to move this to here, that to there. And the linking function, for the most part, will become the constructor of the directive. If you squint a little, there might be little refactorings you might have to do, but it should be, the philosophy is still there, the same. So you should have easy time migrating, hopefully.
That's our hope. So let's see, timeline, very rough for 2.0. So I'll tell you the reality is we never know how long it takes to develop software. I think you're all in the same boat. But as I mentioned, we're going to demo one of the first apps in Angular 2.0 next week. We then have some very well-defined milestones that we want to hit. The next one is milestone 4, which we should hit very shortly. Milestone 5 is engineered for beyond the simple to-do MVC apps, so we can support, I don't know, what are some of the big things at milestone 5?
It's really just missing things like forms and
which is almost in.
Which is almost in. It's things of that sort. So just kind of enabling bigger apps, more help with the kind of dependency injection styles that they have in there and things of that sort.
Yep. And when I say milestones, these are actually public on GitHub. So if you go to our Angular/Angular repo, you can go to the milestones and check them out for yourself. So while we don't know exactly when it's going to happen, we're getting a lot closer. There's going to be stuff you guys can play with shortly, and then you can follow along as to how we're burning down the rest of the items. All right, let's see. How much have you considered React's way of handling DOM manipulation? Could you see a React plus Angular style of app?
It's hitting on the React's virtual DOM, I'm going to guess.
Or maybe their DAG.
Or their these things we kind of have in Angular. So we don't have a virtual DOM in Angular 2. What we have is what we call views, which are kind of like a higher level concept than virtual DOM, but they have the same kind of idea. But because they're at a higher level, the primitives are more tied to how the application works.
Nobody's going to understand this.
Nobody's going to understand.
We should present this at NGConf and give you a better picture of what Misko's talking
Similar idea, basically, what you have to take away from it, and it allows us to do certain tricks and things like being able to run on web workers long term. Yep. The other part was the DAG property. And that's something we took to heart because we discovered that as you build very large applications, not having DAG actually makes it really difficult to reason about the app. And so it's another alignment between Angular and React style.
Yep, there's a lot of alignment. We like those guys' work very much. All right, let's see. Does the router you are backporting to Angular 1x handle hierarchical views? Yes, it does.
That's easy.
Yes.
Question.
Yes, thank you. All right, wasn't NG controller going away in 2.0 or something?
Yes.
Or something.
So here the thing to remember is what we're saying is that the directed NG controller is going away, not the concept of controllers.
Like the meta concept controller in your application. Yes, you will still have controllers.
Yes, and the weird thing is that in Angular 2.0, all the directives are essentially controllers, and so because everything is a controller, then why are we using the controller, right? If I say everything's an object, I'm not going to say it's the object on the end, right? So we're kind of dropping the term, but not the concept, so it's all kind of there.
Right, we're simplifying the APIs, but the same sort of separation of concerns is still something we believe greatly in.
Are the watches and dirty checking system going to significantly revamped in 2.0? Yes, they are very significantly revamped. Again, the two goals are speed and memory pressure, and both of these things we have made some great progress on.
We'll show you some benchmarks in a couple weeks, at least by NGConf, but it's much faster.
Are you considering dropping two-way data binding in Angular 2.0? So that's a very loaded question, and it's kind of complicated. When people talk about two-way data binding, I mean one of two things. One is when they build forms, and forms have this kind of natural two-way data binding process, and everybody loves forms. This is a kind of a specific use of two-way data binding. And then there's the more general use of data binding that you can actually have two components that expose a particular property and they're data bound bidirectionally. What's going away is the latter, which most people don't even know about. When it comes to forms, you will still be able to do forms in your beautiful, simple, two-way data bound way. We don't really actually refer to it as two-way data binding because of the DAG property, and we have a separate mechanism for getting it out. But for the most part, you will not see any differences to the way you do forms. They will work the way you expect them to work.
Yes, it's changed. All right, where is the 2.0 source code?
On the web?
GitHub.com/Angular/Angular?
That's right.
Yep. All right, are you dropping the $ scoping events?
And the pubs are very implicit. Yes. Well, it's kind of complicated. The concept is not getting dropped. What we're doing is we're kind of rearranging things and renaming them a little bit. So there are two reasons why you would want to do scoped events. One is where, within your application, you want to do inter-application communication, and there you're better off injecting different parts of the app and just communicating directly. The second reason to do that is to, when you have a generic component like a fancy calendar widget and it wants to let the world know that it has some item has been selected, that has been slightly moved, and we kind of emulating the way a DOM does it. And the reason for this is because we're only similar philosophy to web components. So it kind of got split in the middle. One part got moved into dependency injection, the other part got moved into kind of the DOM philosophy.
We have a great documentation plan. We'll have examples for a bunch of these things.
Yes, you're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. It's the right thing.
Well, tell us if you don't. All right, is that the same as $ scope going away in controllers? Not. What's the deal there?
Okay, so the $ scope, or rather the scope itself, is the object against which you are evaluating your expressions. And so what we have done over there is we have said that the object is going to be the controller instance of the component. And what the $scope really does is that it monkey patches all these extra methods and properties on it. And those have gotten moved out into animation. So what we did is essentially we started with a scope object, and we said, hey, this idea of a private scope, which is something that you can do in Angular 1x, is actually a good idea. Let's expand, make that the default. We also said, oh, we shouldn't only be mixing different properties. We moved those extra properties off of scope and onto the annotations, and what we were left with was just an empty object, which happened to have one property called the controller because of the controller as syntax. At which point we said, how about we just get rid of the scope altogether and just make the controller the scope, the context against which things are evaluated. And that's kind of the story over there. And we're very, very pleased with the result and the syntax and kind of the natural feel of it.
You can think about it like in Angular 1, you were able to get hold of the scope object. Just like if you program in Node.js, you can get hold of the context object. In regular JavaScript, outside of Node, you can't get hold of scope. It's there. The VM or the language specification defines its behavior, and you use it, but you use it implicitly, not explicitly. And this is what's going to be happening in Angular 2.
Factory versus services, what goes where? So factory in a service is the same thing, it's just a different way of instantiating it. You could instantiate things through a constructor, and that has a name called service, for lack of a better name, a bit overloaded. Or you can instantiate things by calling a function that will instantiate for you, and that's what we call factory. But at the end of the day, it's the same thing that you're building. So it's just different ways of getting there.
It's the same thing. The biggest difference is that factory allows you to create a function or closure and expose that as the API of this entity that you want to be interacting with in your application. Service allows you to instantiate an object. So depending on what kind of API you want to expose to your application, if it's a function, use factory. If it's an object, use service.
I think the other way to look at it is also that a service, because it's just a new operator, will always give you the instance of that particular type. Whereas the factory can give you an instance of just about anything because it can new up anything it wants. So it's a little more flexible in what we can do. At what level or layers do you recommend we test our Angular code?
Many.
Many layers. I mean, we focus always on making it easy for our developers to unit test their code. We also have a very good end-to-end story through Protractor. They both have their merits. They both have their benefits.
We are also going to add benchmarking or performance testing, and we're also working on accessibility testing for the application. So we're expanding on this this year.
So some people don't like the controller as syntax. Is that the way we're heading?
For Angular 1x, yes.
Yeah, Angular 1x, yes. Angular 2x, it's more implicit.
Yeah. You get the same benefits in Angular 2 without using controller as. So you can think about it like that.
I think in Angular 2, people are really going to like where we are. I mean, I don't want to speak for people, but we have put a lot of thought in it, and we have thought about all the limitations of the controller as and how we got there, etc. And so I have really high hopes that in Angular 2, it's going to be the right model for people.
See, has there been any consideration towards implementing some form of reactive extensions or bindings into Angular proper as opposed to relying on a project like RX?
Okay, so that's the thing that we mentioned earlier in Angular 2 was the big change since NG Europe, which is that we are going to have some kind of a reactive thing built in to it. Or we're looking at other libraries which ones we can pull in, or how we're going to get there with the specs, but something along those lines is going to happen.
The core and the template and syntax will have support for reactive extensions. What the actual implementation of the streams or these observables will be, we're still figuring that out. And maybe we'll just make it swappable so that we tie ourselves only to the ES7 interface, and you can use whatever you want as long as it matches that interface.
Can we drop factory plus service? So I think this is a confusion of naming, and that naming has been corrected in Angular 2. So you're welcome to already look at Angular 2 DI system. The word service is nowhere to be found. Hopefully that is going to alleviate many of the confusions.
Like the service.
The service, yes.
As good as the filter.
That one's also been dropped.
All right, joined late, not sure if it was covered. Let's see, was the consideration given to the proposed changes of 2.0 and break them up into incremental updates on the 1.x branch? This is a good question. That is to allow for projects to slowly be updated rather than go for a complete redesign update 2.0. That is changing templating in 1.5, how we do directives in 1.6, get rid of controllers in 1.7, etc. Yes, we thought long and hard about this. Igor, I think, has the best way to say it. Do you still have the best way to say it?
I'll try. So we considered this as an option. One thing that actually two things that we realized was it's hard to build this Angular 2 in an incremental way because you need to see how all these pieces will interact together. And until you have the implementation, it's hard to be like, oh, okay, let's just do this and then do that. And then you realize, oh, that first step was actually wrong. We were supposed to do it this way. So let us break you again. So this was one of the reasons why we decided to just go for 2.0 as a fresh start. The other was we wanted to make many breaking changes for a long time, but we were deferring this because we knew that it would be too much pain to upgrade. And if you look at historically, like upgrading from 1.0 to 1.2 or from 1.2 to 1.3 was relatively straightforward. There weren't big changes. Like most of the breaking changes were corner cases, or there was some migration period that allowed you to just have a smooth path from one version to another. But we really couldn't see how we could make all these major changes that we need to make in an incremental fashion, because you would end up with one breaking change after another, and it would get tired of us breaking you every month and asking you to make a breaking change for the next 2 years or 3 years. I don't think that's fun. So we considered many of these things and decided that it's better for us as well as for the users to just look at Angular 2.0 as a fresh start and then figure out how to get 1x apps to 2.0 in just one shot and make that as smooth as possible rather than being in this unstable state for a year or two.
All right. Do you have plans to add more features to resource?
Not really.
For Angular 2, we're going to have a revamped data service, and you can look forward to those details, but it will be much more encompassing and work hopefully much better for you than $resource. All right, the React team seems to think that write once, run everywhere is a fallacy. Do you share this opinion? If not, do you think web workers is the most important thing to consider? Service workers, what else? You know, the Facebook guys went in big early on trying to develop everything with web technologies and got really burned. The web platforms progressed a lot. I think like maybe people would still have some performance problems, but we're committed to making the web work for mobile. I don't know if you guys have other thoughts on this.
I lack the context, so I go there and on.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Will there be something in future releases to help alleviate potential naming collisions? Unless I'm mistaken, the view currently doesn't allow you to specify the Angular module you are referencing.
So not in Angular 1, I don't think, but in Angular 2x, you will be able to specify which directives or modules the view is importing. And also for dependency injection, we are no longer going to deal with keys, but rather with imports. So I believe both of these issues have been addressed in 2.0. Any plans to do something cool with WebRTC? Yeah, I'm sure you guys are going to be able to build some amazing Angular apps with it.
Yeah, I don't see how there's a... I can't think of a strong association between WebRTC and like rendering. Maybe I'm missing something.
Works with Angular today. Will work easier in Angular 2 tomorrow.
You can use WebRTC in your applications, but there's nothing that I think needs to be done in the core to support it in some special.
There'll be no $apply. All right. Browser support matrix for 2.0. Evergreen browsers, basically. I think, like, anything else to put on that?
Mobile browsers and evergreen browsers.
Yeah, mobile and evergreen, yeah. All right, let's see. Will Angular 2.0 be more modular? Would you be able to replace parts of Angular like HTTP resource, etc., with other libraries? And the answer is yes, that's the plan. The parts of it are already modules that you can use independently, like our Zone.js and the dependency injection, but the idea is that other parts of it will be replaceable as well.
I like that question. Next question.
All right. What am I supposed to do with my dreary existence while waiting for Angular 2.0? I think you can go spelunking our source code repo to see what it's like to write in Typescript.
The little example apps, and maybe start even building example apps of your own. We should be there certainly by next week when we go to demo.
Probably starting to experiment with Typescript would be a good way to
experiment, write some blog posts, send us emails. What you think?
Yeah.
Issues and pull requests, bugs.
I think it'll start getting a lot more exciting in the next couple of weeks once we have the demo app out and you can start playing with it yourself. Is lazy loading of modules on the roadmap for Angular 2? Yes. We answered that early. Sorry, you didn't hear that one. What do you think of the recent opposition hate on the web about Angular?
I think that refers to the removing your cheese.
Well, I have to, like, it's odd, but I feel incredibly lucky that people care enough to hate us occasionally. We've got a perspective on how to write web apps, and other people have different perspectives which are equally valid, and I think they should go pursue those things. Like, any constructive criticism we would love to engage on. All right, which ES6 web platform features should we cheer for the most in order to build the best apps at Angular of the future? Types in JavaScript?
Types and annotations.
Types and annotations, yeah. We're going to care a lot about those. What else?
I would personally like to see more of the profiling and instrumentation help from the web platform. Like in many cases, the browser is still a black box to us. Even to like us Angular developers, we often don't know what's going on. And I would like to get more of that information exposed to developers. So one of them is garbage collection. I would like to know when the garbage collection happened, what objects were garbage collected. Right now I can just know that, oh, there was 10 megabytes of stuff garbage collected, but I don't know what it is. If I knew, then I could look where the garbage is created and optimize that place. So this kind of visibility in the platform would be very powerful.
Yeah. See, besides working on the Angular framework, are you guys working on any full-scale web apps with Angular? These guys aren't. I have another team who has about 80 developers working on a big Angular app. And there's about, we think, like 1,600 Angular apps here at Google. A lot of developers working on Angular here. Let's see, what do you guys experiment with for fun? I raise chickens. What do you guys do?
Igor builds moats.
Igor builds moats around his house. No, I think they mean technology-wise. What do you guys play with?
I've been really getting interested into observables, and I was playing with RX and Most.js the other day, and it was super cool.
I second that.
I think ClojureScript's pretty cool. All right, what kind of restaurant should we buy your favor at during NGConf? We have a tradition of sushi on the team, but I don't know. Mission always wants lobster.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm an omnivore. I will eat anything. As long as it's not peas.
Not peas, yeah. Hamburgers. I like hamburgers. Okay. Any other big plans for 1.x? We're actually looking towards possibly doing a 1.5 release. I think the things you'll see in 1.x are mostly migration help towards 2.0. So we're looking at what those can be. I don't know. Are there other big ideas on the 1.5?
Lots of animations related stuff, and we have ideas about DI. I wish Pete was here. He could probably talk more about this stuff.
No good answers here. We have a big team now. All right, besides JavaScript, then transpiles to JS languages, what is your favorite?
That kind of covers a lot of languages I can't name.
I learned a lot from Ruby. I don't write Ruby daily now, but I used to. So it was very interesting being exposed to that. We also did a deep dive into Elm, ELM, the other day, and it's very different world. So I actually like to see and talk to developers who know other languages, because that's how we bring stuff that works in one language to another, and learn more.
I still get nostalgic for 6502 assembly. It's not super useful. Okay, besides, okay, we did that one. How much time will 1.x be supported after the 2.0 release? Quite a while. And I think it's kind of up to you guys. We've seen really good uptake when we've gone from major version to major version. We realize that 2.0 is a bigger step function than most, but we really do want to get a lot of teams onto 2.0, and we don't want to leave you hanging. I know that's not a specific answer, but many months, possibly over a year. Any other thoughts?
We don't even know when 2.0 is going to be released.
Yeah. So 1.x will be supported
it's
for.
not anytime soon.
Yeah. Like the countdown has not started.
All right. Well, I don't see any other questions coming through, and we're at our time. Oh, it looks like we got one more. So let's do one more, and then we will call it good. Or two more.
All right. Other than native lazy loading, can we expect any improvements on the blocking nature of Angular? Maybe async loading. Oh, and in terms of features, will 2.0 and Angular Dart be equal? Okay, both good questions. Blocking nature of Angular. Misko?
Well, this is web workers.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is blocking nature of JavaScript, maybe. But yeah, through web workers is the possible answer to that, and it still needs to be explored. And the second one, in terms of features, will 2.0 Angular Dart be equal? Yes. Do you want to talk about how it works?
Right. So we actually write Angular Dart in AdScript, and we transpile AdScript to both ES5, ES6, as well as to Dart. And so the two will be identical. They'll have the same set of bugs, same set of features,
Same set of docs.
same set of docs,
Yes.
same set of developers. They will be exactly one-to-one.
All right. Any more we want to sneak in?
Looks like everyone's saying thank you and getting ready to go. So thank you very much for coming. I'm clapping here. But yeah, I really appreciate it. I think everybody else really likes being able to get the information that they want.
Awesome. Thanks for having us, guys.
Thank you.
Nate Wilkins asks, do you guys ever get sick of talking about Angular?
No?
No, you don't get sick talking about your own baby.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, everyone. See you next time.
All right, have a good night.
Bye.
All right, quick reminder, let me, oh, they muted. Okay, quick reminder, everybody, these talks and the talks from last night will be posted in the forum at community.jsremoteconf.com. So if you want to watch it again and just see how things go, then by all means, check it out there. If you have any trouble getting in, we got invitations out to everybody. Some of them wound up in the junk mail or spam. So go just double check that and make sure that it didn't wind up there. But if you're having trouble getting in, let me know or Mandy know. My email is chuck@devchat.tv. Mandy's is assistant@devchat.tv. And we'll make sure that you are in and getting all of this great information. And yeah, we're going to be looking forward to another set of great talks tomorrow. So yeah, definitely be ready for that. We're going to have Hot Draw Revisited, Object-Oriented JavaScript in Canvas by Ken Auer. And Ken is awesome. I'm excited for that one. And the other one is Developing a Hybrid Mobile App Using AngularJS and JavaScript. And it looks like he's going to be talking all kinds of different technologies, not just the Ionic Framework and JavaScript. Keep an eye out for that one as well. And yeah, if you have any feedback for me, let me know in the forum. And I'm not going to keep you any longer. Thank you for coming, and we'll see you tomorrow.